Listen to me. If you want to achieve greatness, if you want to get to that next level in your life, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Growth doesn't come from sitting in the same spot, doing the same things, feeling the same way every single day. Growth comes when you push yourself into new territory, when you step into places that scare you, when you embrace the pain of the process. See, too many people want the reward, but they don't want the struggle. They want the trophy, but not the training. They want the blessing without the burden. But I came here to tell you today, your blessing lies in your burden. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your discomfort. When we talk about growth, when we talk about becoming the best version of yourself, you have to understand something very clearly. Growth doesn't come in the easy moment. Growth doesn't show up when everything feels right, when the temperature is just perfect, when the lights are shining, and when everything is falling into place. No, growth happens in the tension, in the pressure, and the stretch. Discomfort is the soil where growth takes root. And if you don't plant yourself in that soil, if you don't allow yourself to feel that pain, that stretch, that difficulty, you will never grow into the person you were designed to be. Think about it. Every single thing in nature that grows has to go through some kind of pressure, some kind of breaking, some kind of discomfort. The seed doesn't turn into a tree without first breaking open in the dirt. That seed is buried underground in the dark and the cold, surrounded by dirt and pressure. It doesn't feel good for that seed. But in that uncomfortable moment, life begins. The root pushes downward, the stem pushes upward, and the process of growth starts. Without that discomfort, without that breaking, without that soil pressing down on it, the seed would never become a tree. And you're the same way. When you stay in your comfort zone, you stay the same size. You stay at the same level. Comfort tells you, don't push, don't risk, don't stretch. But discomfort says, if you dare to step into me, I'll transform you. Think about working out. Nobody likes to burn when you're doing push-ups, when you're running that extra mile, when your muscles are on fire. But it's in that exact moment, when you feel like you can't take another rep, when you feel like you can't go another step, that your body is growing, that your muscles are tearing and rebuilding stronger than before. Without that pain, you don't get stronger. And the same thing applies to your life, your career, your relationships, your goals. Every single thing you want is sitting on the other side of discomfort. You want to grow your business? That means making phone calls when you don't feel like it. That means showing up earlier than everybody else. Staying later than everybody else, even when your body is telling you to quit. You want to get that degree. That means sitting in class when you'd rather be sleeping, studying when your friends are out having fun, putting in hours of work that feel exhausting and uncomfortable. Let me tell you something. Every successful person you admire has mastered the art of being uncomfortable. Look at athletes. Do you think LeBron James or Serena Williams got to the top because they loved every single workout? No, they became great because they trained when it hurt. They pushed when it was inconvenient. They stayed disciplined when everything inside of them wanted comfort. And here's the truth. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary isn't talent alone. It's the willingness to live in discomfort. Ordinary people quit when it hurts. Extraordinary people lean into that pain and let it mold them. Now let's talk about why discomfort builds growth. Discomfort forces you to face yourself. When everything is easy, you don't learn anything new about yourself. But when life throws you into uncomfortable situations, when the bills are stacking up, when you lose a job, when you fail a test, when you're rejected by someone you thought would support you, those are the moments when you discover what you're made of. That's when you learn your resilience, your creativity, your persistence. Discomfort stretches you beyond what you thought was possible. You thought you could only lift 50 pounds. Then discomfort pushes you to 70. You thought you could only study for 2 hours. Then discomfort shows you you're capable of 5. You thought you could only dream small. Then discomfort forces you to dream bigger. Discomfort is also the place where discipline is forged. You cannot build discipline in comfort. Comfort tells you to hit snooze on the alarm, to take the easy way, to give in to your emotions. But when you make yourself do what you don't feel like doing, that's discipline. You go to the gym when you're tired. You write the paper when you're uninspired. You practice your craft when no one is clapping. That's where discipline is built, and discipline is what sustains success. Anybody can get lucky once. Anybody can shine for a moment, but it takes discipline to shine consistently. And that discipline is only forged in the fire of discomfort. I want you to imagine your dream right now. Close your eyes and picture it. That business you want to start, that house you want to buy, that career you want to build, that health you want to achieve, that impact you want to make. Now let me be real with you. Everything you just picture is possible, but only if you're willing to walk through discomfort to get it. The dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. The dream is beautiful, but the process is painful. You cannot escape the process. If you try to avoid it, you'll forfeit the dream. Think about the people who stay comfortable. They live safe. They never try, never risk, never stretch. And you know what happens? Years pass by, and they're the same person they were 10 years ago. Same job, same mindset, same struggles. They didn't grow because they didn't allow discomfort to stretch them. But look at the ones who embraced it. They may have cried. They may have failed. They may have been embarrassed, but they grew. They became stronger, smarter, more resilient. They learned how to navigate storms, and those storms prepared them for bigger blessings. See, life is funny. It won't give you growth without testing you. Life says, you want strength? I'll give you weights to lift. You want courage? I'll put you in scary situations. You want patience? I'll make you wait longer than you want to. Life always delivers growth wrapped inside discomfort. If you keep rejecting the package, you keep rejecting your growth. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I was homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, I was uncomfortable. I didn't know where my next meal would come from. But it was in that discomfort that I learned how bad I wanted something better. It was in that pain that I learned to fight, to grind, to push. If life had been easy, I would have stayed average. But because life was hard, because it forced me out of comfort, I became who I am today. Discomfort shaped me. And I want you to see your discomfort the same way. Don't run from it. Don't despise it. Respect it. Embrace it. Let it stretch you. Every time you feel uncomfortable, remind yourself, this is growth in progress. This is my body, my mind, my spirit leveling up. And I promise you, when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you will look back one day and realize that every great thing in your life came from a season of discomfort. So don't avoid the pain. Don't avoid the pressure. That burn in your muscles, that fear in your heart, that challenge in your life, it's not there to break you, it's there to build you. Growth is waiting for you. But you gotta get uncomfortable enough to claim it. Comfort is the silent killer of dreams. It feels good in the moment, it feels safe. It feels like everything is under control, but the truth is that comfort is the enemy of success. Comfort is the voice that whispers, and stay in bed just a little longer when your goals are calling you to wake up. Comfort is the hand that holds you back when opportunity is right in front of you. Comfort is the reason why so many people live average lives when they were created for greatness. You have to understand that the life you want, the vision you dream about, the success you're chasing, it doesn't live in comfort. Comfort keeps you stuck, but growth and achievement live just outside of it. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you had a goal, a dream, a plan, but when it came time that you chose the comfortable route? You said, I'll do it tomorrow. You said, I'll start when I feel ready. You said, it's too hard right now, and guess what? Tomorrow never came. Readiness never arrived, and the hard never went away. Comfort convinced you to wait, to pause, to settle. And while you were waiting, life kept moving. Time doesn't stop just because you're comfortable. Time keeps going. Opportunities keep passing, and while you sit in comfort, someone else out there's grinding in discomfort, and they're getting closer to their goals while you stay stuck. Comfort feels like a warm blanket on a cold night. It feels safe, but if you wrap yourself in it too long, you'll never step outside and feel the fresh air of possibility. Comfort zones are dangerous because they disguise themselves peace, but what they really give you is stagnation. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Nothing new is discovered in the comfort zone. No breakthrough ever happens there. Think about all the event athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders who changed the world. Not one of them did it by staying comfortable. They had to risk, they had to sacrifice, they had to walk into the unknown. They had to be willing to be laughed at, doubted, rejected. That's not comfortable, but that's what success requires. Look at history. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't stay comfortable when he fought for civil rights. He could have stayed quiet, kept his head down, and lived safely. But he chose discomfort because he knew success, freedom, justice, equality was worth it. Steve Jobs didn't stay comfortable when he started Apple in his garage. He could have chosen a safe corporate job, but he embraced the discomfort of risk and failure to build something revolutionary. Michael Jordan didn't stay comfortable after being cut from his high school basketball team. He could have quit, but instead, he embraced the discomfort of training harder than anyone else. And that's what made him the greatest. Comfort tells you to stay small. Success demands that you stretch. Now let's break it down deeper. Comfort is predictable. Comfort says if I stay here, I won't fail, I won't look foolish, I won't lose. But here's the lie, by trying to avoid failure, you actually guarantee it. You fail by default because you never try. You fail by staying in the same place, by never testing your limits, by never seeing what's possible. You fail silently. Success, on the other hand, comes with risk. It comes with public failure, with embarrassment, with rejection. But it also comes with lessons, growth, and eventually breakthroughs. Comfort is also addictive. Once you choose comfort, it gets easier and easier to keep choosing it. You hit snooze once, then twice, then every day. You skip the workout one day, then the next, and suddenly it's been a year. You say, I'll do it later once, and later becomes your lifestyle. Comfort is like quicksand. It pulls you in slowly until you can't move. And the scariest part, you don't even realize it's happening until years have passed, and you look back wondering where your life went. That's why you have to train yourself to run away from comfort. You have to reprogram your mind to recognize comfort as danger. Every time you feel too at ease, too safe, too relaxed, you should ask yourself, am I growing or am I settling? Because success is never found in settling. Success is found in stretching. The moment you get too comfortable in your career, you stop learning, you stop innovating, and someone hungrier than you comes and takes your spot. The moment you get too comfortable in your relationships, you stop putting in effort and the connection begins to fade. The moment you get too comfortable in your personal growth, you stop pushing yourself and your potential starts to die. Comfort always robs you. I need you to understand this truth. Comfort and success cannot live in the same place. You have to choose one. If you choose comfort, you're choosing to stay the same. If you choose success, you're choosing discomfort, growth, and transformation. Success demands that you leave behind what feels good now for what will feel great later. Success demands that you trade instant gratification for long-term reward. Success demands that you get up when you rather stay down, that you show up when you rather hide, that you fight when you rather quit. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two people start going to the gym. The first person goes for a week, then quits because it's uncomfortable. The second person feels the same pain, same soreness, but keeps going. Over time, the second person builds strength, endurance, and confidence. After 6 months, the difference is undeniable. The first person stayed comfortable and stayed the same. The second person embraced discomfort and transformed. That's the difference. The results don't come because of comfort. They come because of consistent discomfort. And here's the thing. You don't have to wait until you will feel ready to leave your comfort zone. You'll never feel ready. The perfect time will never come. The conditions will never line up just right. You have to move anyway. You have to act in spite of fear, in spite of uncertainty, in spite of doubt. Success belongs to the people who act even when it's uncomfortable. Comfort waits for the right moment and loses every time. Let me speak directly to you. If you keep choosing comfort, you will keep getting the same results you've always gotten. If you're tired of being stuck, if you're tired of watching other people live the life you want, if you're tired of playing small, then it's time to stop choosing comfort. It's time to get up earlier, to work harder, to put yourself in rooms that intimidate you, to learn skills that challenge you, to take risks, time to stretch yourself in ways you never have before. Because the truth is, if you don't push yourself, life will push you. If you don't get out of your comfort zone on purpose, life will eventually force you out through hardship, loss, or missed opportunities. Success requires hunger, and hunger never lives in comfort. Hunger lives in the grind, in the hustle, in the sacrifice. Hunger lives in the extra mile, in the long nights, in the discipline of saying no to what feels good now so you can have what feels great later. Hunger lives in discomfort. And until you embrace that, until you choose that, success will keep slipping through your fingers. So here's my challenge to you. Stop chasing comfort and start chasing growth. Stop asking, what's easy? And start asking, what will stretch me? Stop settling for average because average is comfortable and average is the enemy of greatness. Every time you feel the pull of comfort, remind yourself, comfort is the enemy of success. And if you really want success, if you really want to live the life you've been dreaming about, you've got to step out of that comfort zone, into the unknown, into the pain, into the stretch. Because that's where the magic happens. That's where greatness is found. Failure is not the end of the road. Failure is not a wall that stops you permanently. And failure is not a final judgment on who you are or what you are capable of. Failure is a teacher. It's a mirror. It's a lesson wrapped in pain, but it's the most powerful lesson you will ever learn. Too many people run from failure, hide from failure, avoid failure at all costs, as if failing means they're not good enough. But I'm here to tell you, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's the process, the training, it's the refining fire that molds you into the person who's strong enough, disciplined enough, resilient enough to handle success when it finally arrives. Think about it. Every single person you admire, every athlete, every entrepreneur, every leader, every artist who has achieved greatness has one thing in common. They failed and failed big. Michael Jordan, considered the greatest basketball player of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. Most people would have quit right there. But Jordan used failure as fuel. He said it himself. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and miss. I failed over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. You see that? He didn't succeed because he avoided failure. He succeeded because he embraced it. He learned from it and he kept showing up and he kept showing up. Failure teaches you things success never will. Success feels good. It gives you confidence. It makes you proud. But success doesn't sharpen you the way failure does. Failure teaches you humility. Failure teaches you persistence. Failure teaches you creativity, how to try a different angle, how to think outside the box, how to keep moving forward when plan A, B, and C all collapse. Failure teaches you resilience, the ability to take a hit and keep standing. Without failure, you wouldn't have the tools you need to handle real success, because real success comes with challenges, with setbacks, with problems. Only resilience can solve. Let's break it down even more. When you fail, you're exposed. Failure reveals your weaknesses, your blind spots, your mistakes. Most people hate that. They see failure as proof that they're not good enough. But I want you to flip your mindset. Failure isn't proof that you're not good enough. It's feedback that tells you where you need to grow. Failure is a compass pointing you toward improvement. If you never fail, you never learn. If you never fall, you never discover how strong you are when you get back up. Failure is feedback, and feedback is a gift. The people who win in life are the people who learn to love feedback, even when it stings. Failure also destroys pride, and that's a good thing. Pride makes you think you've already arrived. Pride makes you think you don't need to prepare, don't need to train, don't need to listen. Failure humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how talented you are, talent alone is not enough. It reminds you that you can always grow, always improve, always sharpen your skills. Failure breaks down the ego, and in doing so, it builds character. And character is what sustains success when talent fades, when money fluctuates, when applause stops. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake people make with failure. They make it their identity. They fail at something, and instead of saying, I failed, they start saying, I'm a failure. That's dangerous. That's toxic. Failing at something doesn't mean you are a failure. It means you tried, you learned, you grew. Failure is an event, not a person. It's something that happens, not something you are. You've got to separate the two. If you failed a test, that doesn't mean you're done. If you failed in a relationship, that doesn't mean you're unlovable. If you failed in business, that doesn't mean you're incapable. It simply means that you need to adjust, to learn, to try again with more wisdom and strength than before. Let me give you a real example. Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb, failed thousands of times before he got it right. Somebody asked him, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? Edison said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. That's the mindset you need. Failure isn't the end. Isn't the end. It's a step. Every failure moves you closer to the solution. Every failure sharpens your vision, your method, your execution. If Edison had quit after 10 tries or 100 or even 900, we might still be living in the dark. But because he understood failure was a teacher, not a destination, he kept going until success was inevitable. Failure also builds patience. In this world, everybody wants instant results. We live in a microwave culture. People want success fast, fame fast, money fast. And when it doesn't come immediately, they quit. But failure forces you to slow down. Failure forces you to trust the process. Failure forces you to understand that success isn't built overnight. It's built over time through trial and error, through setbacks and comebacks. Patience isn't built in comfort. Patience is built when you keep working, even when you don't see results yet. And patience is the secret ingredient to lasting success. You got to reframe failure in your mind. Instead of seeing it as shameful, see it as training. Instead of seeing it as defeat, see it as education. College gives you degrees, but life gives you lessons, and those lessons often come wrapped in failure. That's how you earn your stripes. That's how you build your story. Every setback becomes part of your comeback. Every loss becomes part of your legacy. And when you succeed, those failures will make the victory that much sweeter because you'll know what it cost. You'll know what it took. You'll know what you overcame. I know failure hurts. I know it stings. I know it bruises your pride, breaks your heart, drains your energy. But don't run from that pain. Use it. Let it fuel you. Let it motivate you. Let it remind you how badly you want the goal. Failure has a way of testing your desire. If you fail and quit, you didn't want it badly enough. But if you fail and keep going, if you fail and rise again, if you fail and push even harder, then success will eventually bow to your persistence. Think about the people who never fail. They're not failing because they're not trying. They're not pushing themselves. They're not taking risks. They're not putting themselves in situations where failure is possible. And guess what? They're also not succeeding. Because failure and success are twins. You can't have one without the other. If you never risk failure, you never experience true success. Playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do because safety guarantees mediocrity. So here's the challenge. Stop being afraid of failure. Stop treating it like a curse. Start treating it like a classroom. Start treating it like a mentor. Start treating it like a stepping stone. Every time you fail, write down what you learned. Every time you fail, remind yourself this is part of the process. Every time you fail, get back up quicker, stronger, wiser. And I promise you, one day you'll look back and realize your failures were not roadblocks. They were building blocks. They weren't stopping points. They were stepping stones. They weren't curses. They weren't curses in disguise. Failure is a teacher, not a destination. The only way failure becomes permanent is if you quit. As long as you get back up, as long as you keep moving, failure is just temporary. And when you finally succeed, and you will, the world will see the glory, but you'll know the story. You'll know the countless failures that built the foundation for that moment. And that knowledge, that journey, will give you a success no one can take away. Pain is one of those experiences we all try to avoid. Nobody wakes up in the morning excited to struggle, excited to hurt, excited to feel pressure or stress. Our natural instinct is to run away from pain, to chase comfort, to look for the path of least resistance. But here's the truth. Pain is temporary and growth is permanent. The pain you feel today, the struggle you endure right now, the pressure that seems overwhelming, it will not last forever. But the strength, the lessons, the growth that pain produces, those things stay with you for the rest of your life. That's why successful people don't run from pain. They embrace it because they know it's the price you pay for transformation. Think about it like this. When you go to the gym and lift weights, your muscles tear on a microscopic level. That's why they hurt the next day. That soreness is pain. But that pain doesn't last. After a few days, the soreness goes away. What stays is the muscle that grew stronger because of the pain. That's exactly how life works. You go through heartbreak, you go through rejection, you go through financial struggles, you go through failure. It hurts, feels unbearable in the moment. But eventually the pain passes. What remains is a stronger you, a wiser you, a more resilient you. The problem is too many people quit in the middle of pain. They mistake temporary pain for permanent defeat. They think if it hurts this much, it must not be meant for me. But that's a lie. The pain isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign to quit. It's a sign you're in the process of growing. The pain you feel is proof that you're stretching beyond what's comfortable, that you're entering new territory, that you're building something you've never built before. If you quit in the middle of pain, you miss out on the reward that comes after it. Look at athletes who train for championships. They put their bodies through pain every single day. They run until their lungs burn. They lift until their muscles scream. They push themselves until their legs can barely move. Why? Because they understand that the pain is temporary. The soreness goes away. The exhaustion fades. But the strength, the speed, the endurance they build lasts. That growth is permanent. And when the championship game comes, the pain they endured months earlier pays off in victory. Pain also teaches you to appreciate success more deeply. If everything came easy, if you never had to struggle, you would take it for granted. You wouldn't value it. You wouldn't value it. When you've cried for it, when you've sacrificed for it, when you've been through sleepless nights and endless grind, when you've endured pain, the reward means more. The diploma feels heavier because you know the nights you stayed up studying. The business deal feels sweeter because you remember the rejections you endured. The relationship feels richer because you both overcame struggles together. Pain adds value to success. Now, let's talk about perspective. Pain always feels permanent in the moment. When you're in the middle of heartbreak, you think it will never go away. When you're in debt, it feels like you'll never get out. When you're grieving, it feels like the sadness will last forever. But time proves otherwise. Eventually, the sharp sting softens. Eventually, you adjust, you heal, you move forward. The pain fades. But if you paid attention during that season, what doesn't fade are the lessons it taught you. You carry that wisdom forever. That's the permanent part. For example, maybe you went through a tough financial season where you lost everything. It was painful. You struggled. You sacrificed. You felt embarrassed. But from that pain, you learned discipline, budgeting, how to save, how to invest. Those lessons stay with you for life. Or maybe you went through a breakup that broke your heart. It hurt deeply. But from that pain, you learn what you deserve, what you should never settle for, how to love yourself first. That growth stays with you permanently. The pain was temporary, but the wisdom it produced stays forever. Pain also reveals who you are and what you're made of. When everything is comfortable, you don't see your true character. But when you're under pressure, when you're hurting, when you're tested, that's when your real strength shows up. That's when you discover grit you didn't know you had, determination you didn't think existed, creativity you didn't know was inside you. Pain introduces you to the stronger version of yourself. Once you meet that version, you don't go back. That's permanent growth. It's also important to remember that pain has purpose. It doesn't just show up randomly. Every painful situation carries something valuable with it. Sometimes the purpose of pain is to redirect you. You lose a job and it hurts. That pain pushes you towards starting the business you were meant to start. Sometimes the purpose of pain is to prepare you. You fail an exam and it hurts. But that failure teaches you how to study harder, how to focus better, and prepares you for greater opportunities ahead. Sometimes the purpose of pain is to protect you. A relationship ends and it hurts, but that pain protects you from being tied to someone who wasn't good for your destiny. We often want to escape pain as quickly as possible, but truth is, escaping pain too soon can rob you of the growth it was meant to bring. Pain is like a refiner's fire. Gold is purified in fire. Steel is forged in fire. Without heat, without pressure, they don't reach their full strength. But the same, without the heat of pain, without the pressure of struggle, you won't reach your full potential. Pain burns off the weaknesses, the bad habits, the laziness, the excuses. Pain purifies you. Now, let me be clear. Nobody is saying pain is easy. Nobody's saying it feels good. But that's the point. Growth requires discomfort. Change requires stretching. Transformation requires pain. If it didn't hurt, it wouldn't change you. Pain is the price of admission to the next level. You can't skip it. You can't cheat it. You can only endure it, embrace it, and extract the lessons from it. And when you do, you realize something powerful. Pain doesn't break you, it builds you. Pain doesn't destroy you, it develops you. Pain doesn't last, but the growth it creates does. Every storm you survive makes you stronger for the next one. Every battle you fight teaches you skills for the future. Every tear you cry waters the seeds of wisdom that will grow for a lifetime. So the next time you're in pain, don't panic, don't quit, don't assume it's forever. Remind yourself, this pain is temporary, but the growth I'm gaining is permanent. The pain will fade, but I'll still be standing. The pain will end, but I'll be wiser. The pain will leave, but I'll be stronger. That mindset changes everything. Suddenly, pain isn't something to fear. It's something to use. It's not an enemy. It's a trainer. It's not a curse. It's a coach. When you embrace that truth, you become unstoppable because pain loses its power over you. You stop running from it. You stop being scared of it. You walk through it knowing that on the other side is a better version of you. And once you know that, you'll never see pain the same way again. You'll see it for what it really is. Temporary pressure producing permanent progress. When you think about growth, when you think about change, when you think about stepping into the next level of your life, you got to understand one simple truth. Your comfort zone will never allow you to get there. Most people want the results, but they don't want the process. They want the glory without the grind, the success without the struggle, the prize without the prize. But life doesn't work that way. Every achievement worth having requires sacrifice, and sacrifice always hurts. That's why you got to embrace the idea that discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your teacher, your trainer, your test. And the more you're willing to lean into it, the more you unlock parts of yourself you never knew existed. Think about it. Every time you wanted to achieve something meaningful, there was discomfort attached to it. If you wanted to get fit, your muscles had to ache in the gym. If you wanted to get educated, you had to sacrifice sleep, social time, and sometimes even fun to study. If you wanted to start a business, you had to face uncertainty, rejection, and even financial stress. None of those things are pleasant, but all of them are necessary. And here's the difference between those who succeed and those who quit. The successful ones understand that discomfort is not punishment. It's the process of transformation. Picture a seed in the ground. Before it becomes a tree, it has to be buried in the darkness. It has to crack open, break apart, and push through layers of soil just to find the light. That process doesn't look pretty. It doesn't feel easy, but it's the only way growth happens. You're the same way. You can't expect to stay whole, safe, untouched, and comfortable if you want to grow into something bigger. You've got to be willing to crack, to stretch, to push through resistance, and to rise from the dirt. That's how greatness is born. The problem is that we live in a world that teaches us to avoid discomfort at all costs. We're told to chase ease, to seek convenience, to find shortcuts. We build a culture of instant gratification, fast food, fast money, fast results, but nothing lasting ever comes fast. And because of this mindset, many people never reach their potential. They quit when it gets tough. They give up when the pain comes. They run back to comfort instead of pushing through discomfort. And as a result, they settle for less than what they're capable. But let me tell you something. Comfort is a cage. It looks safe, it feels warm, but it keeps you trapped. Discomfort, on the other hand, is the key that unlocks the door. Every time you step outside what's easy, you expand your capacity. You discover strength you didn't know you had. You learn resilience, discipline, and courage. And those lessons don't come in the good times. They come when life stretches you, when you're pushed to the edge, when you're forced to operate outside what you thought you could handle. Take athletes, for example. The best in the world don't just train when they feel good. They push their bodies to the limit day after day. They wake up when it's still dark. They run when their legs feel like lead. They practice when they'd rather sleep. Why? Because they understand that every drop of sweat, every ache, every sacrifice is building them into champions. Discomfort is the price they pay for the glory they seek. And if you want to win in your own life, you got to adopt that same mindset. Discomfort also teaches humility. When you step into situations that challenge you, you're reminded that you don't know everything, you don't have everything, and you're not in control of everything. That humility forces you to grow, to learn, to adapt. It strips away your ego and replaces it with character. And character is what sustains success long after the momentary victories fade away. Another thing about discomfort is that it reveals who you truly are. It's easy to talk about discipline, commitment, and resilience when life is smooth. But when the storm hits, when the pressure builds, when everything feels uncertain, that's when your true self comes out. Do you fold or do you fight? Do you retreat or do you rise? Discomfort gives you the chance to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. And once you've proven it once, you carry that confidence into every area of your life. Now, I won't lie to you. Discomfort never feels good in the moment. You're going to feel fear, doubt, anxiety, even pain. But here's the secret. Those feelings don't last. What lasts is the growth, the breakthrough, the strength you gain on the other side. Pain is temporary, but pride is permanent. The discomfort you're avoiding today might be the very thing that could set you free tomorrow. You gotta reframe how you see discomfort. Instead of saying, this is too hard, start saying, this is how I grow. Instead of thinking, I don't like this feeling, start thinking, this feeling means I'm moving forward. When you shift your mindset, discomfort goes from being a roadblock to being a roadmap. It stops being something you fear and becomes something you seek, because you know every time you step into it, you're leveling up. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people at the gym. One person lifts only the weights they're comfortable with, never pushing beyond what feels easy. The other person pushes through heavier sets, even when it burns, even when it hurts. Which one do you think will grow stronger? The answer is obvious. The same is true in life. If you always stick to what's comfortable, you'll stay the same. But if you're willing to lean into discomfort, you'll transform. Discomfort also makes you grateful. When you've gone through tough seasons, you appreciate the blessings more. When you've had the struggle, you value success in a deeper way. Comfort doesn't give you gratitude because it makes you take things for granted. But discomfort reminds you of the value of everything you fought for. And that gratitude fuels you to keep going, even when the next challenge comes. At the end of the day, discomfort is not the end of the day. Discomfort is not the enemy. The enemy is the belief that you should live without it. Because the truth is, life is not about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. It's about taking the challenges, the pain, the fear, and turning them into fuel for your journey. It's about understanding that every uncomfortable situation is shaping you into the person you were meant to become. So the next time you feel discomfort, whether it's in your job, your relationships, your health, or your goals, don't run from it. Don't complain about it. Don't see it as a sign to quit. See it as an invitation to grow. See it as proof that you're on the right track. See it as the fire that's forging you into gold. Because here's the truth. Nothing extraordinary ever comes from comfort. If you want an extraordinary life, you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. You've got to be willing to push past what's easy, to sacrifice for what matters, to endure what others won't. That's the price of greatness. And if you pay it, you'll not only change your own life, you'll inspire others to step into their own discomfort and discover their own greatness. Growth through discomfort is not a slogan. It is a way of life. If you want to grow in any area, whether it's your career, your relationships, your mindset, or your physical health, you have to be willing to endure the friction that comes with leaving your safe zone. The truth is, growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you're comfortable, you're standing still. If you're growing, you're going to feel uneasy, stretched, maybe even overwhelmed. But that's the soil where transformation takes place. Every seed has to be buried in darkness before it can break open and reach for the light. The same is true for you. The very challenges you're avoiding are the same ones that would unlock your potential if you just had the courage to face them. Think about your own life for a moment. Reflect on the times when you grew the most, whether it was learning a new skill, taking on a leadership role, pushing through personal loss, or trying something that terrified you. Were you comfortable during those moments? Probably not. You were likely nervous, uncertain, maybe even questioning if you could make it. But on the other side of that discomfort, you found strength you didn't even know you had. You discovered resilience, determination, and creativity that were lying dormant, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. Growth does not happen in the shallow soil of ease. It grows in the deep, unpredictable, sometimes messy soil of discomfort. It's easy to trick ourselves into thinking that progress can happen without pain. We say we want to be stronger, but we don't want to sweat. We don't want to sweat. We say we want to be successful, but we don't want to sacrifice. We say we want to grow spiritually, emotionally, or mentally, but we don't want to be tested. Yet every meaningful breakthrough in human history has come through discomfort. Athletes push their bodies beyond their limits in training, so that on the field, they're unstoppable. Entrepreneurs sacrifice sleep, indoor rejection, and take risks because they know comfort won't build their vision. Students pull all-nighters, wrestle with doubt, and grind through the challenge of learning because they know that growth doesn't happen if they quit when it gets hard. Growth through discomfort also reshapes how you see yourself. When you step into discomfort and succeed, you stop seeing yourself as weak, limited, or incapable. You start building a track record of victory, small or large, that reminds you that you are stronger than you think. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from conquering it. Imagine the power of living each day with the memory of what you've overcome, the scars to prove it, and the wisdom to guide you. That's how you develop a sense of unshakable belief in yourself, by growing through discomfort and realizing you can survive it, even thrive in it. Another aspect of growth through discomfort is humility. Discomfort reminds us that we don't have it all figured out. It humbles us enough to learn, to listen, to accept correction, and to admit weakness. When life stretches you, it forces you to acknowledge that you need help, that you can't do it all alone, and that you still have room to improve. That humility is not a weakness, it's a strength. It keeps you grounded even as you grow higher. It keeps you learning when you're tempted to think you know it all. And it keeps you connected to others who can pour wisdom into your life. Many people avoid discomfort because they fear failure. But what they don't realize is that failure itself is one of the greatest teachers. Every failure is a lesson disguised in pain. Every mistake shows you a better way forward. Every setback, as Eric Thomas said, is a setup for a comeback. If you never risk failure, you'll never truly grow. You'll never stretch beyond the limits you placed on yourself. Growth comes when you're willing to stumble, to fall, to fail, but also to rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Take the example of physical training. When you lift weights, your muscles are literally being torn. Those tiny tears are painful. They make you sore. They make you uncomfortable. When you rest and recover, your body repairs those muscles and makes them stronger than before. That's growth through discomfort. The very pain you felt was the signal that transformation was happening. Life works the same way. The discomfort you feel in challenges isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the tearing down of old habits, old beliefs, and old limitations so that new strength can be built in their place. Discomfort also forces you to adapt. When you're pushed out of what you know, you have to find new ways to survive, new strategies to succeed, and new tools to overcome. Growth never happens by repeating what you've always done. It comes from being forced into situations where your old methods no longer work. That's how you innovate, how you evolve, how you stay ahead of the curve. Discomfort pushes you to be resourceful and creative. It turns obstacles into opportunities for breakthroughs. You may look at successful people and think they are just lucky or gifted. But if you dig deeper, you'll find a common denominator. They all endure discomfort. They all face nights of doubt, seasons of sacrifice, and moments of uncertainty. But instead of running from it, they leaned into it. They embraced the pain because they knew it was shaping them into the kind of person who could handle the success they were chasing. If you want to grow into greatness, you have to do the same. You have to stop running from discomfort and start running toward it. Growth through discomfort also strengthens your character. It shapes patience, perseverance, discipline, and grit, qualities that comfort will never develop in you. Discomfort tests whether your words match your actions, whether your dreams are more than empty talk. It puts fire in your heart and steel in your spine. It strips away excuses and exposes your true desires. If you really want to grow, discomfort will prove it. At the end of the day, discomfort is temporary, but the growth it produces is permanent. You may cry, sweat, or even bleed in the process, but every ounce of pain will be transformed into power if you keep pushing forward. Growth requires you to go through seasons that don't feel good, but are good for you. Just like medicine may taste bitter, but heals the body. Discomfort may sting, but it heals the soul and molds the character. So the next time you feel discomfort, when fear whispers that you're not ready, when doubt tells you to quit, when pain makes you want to stop, remember that this is the place where growth lives. This is the training ground for greatness. Don't run from it. Don't resist it. Embrace it. Because growth through discomfort is the only path to becoming everything you were created to be. When we talk about getting comfortable being uncomfortable, one of the most critical aspects is learning how to break the cycle of fear. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that can hold people back from their goals. It disguises itself in so many ways. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears creep into the mind and slowly convince people to play it safe, to stay in their comfort zones, and to never stretch towards something greater. The problem is fear is not a signal to stop. It's an invitation to grow. The very things you're most afraid of often hold the greatest opportunities for your development. And until you confront those fears head on, you always live smaller than your potential. Breaking the cycle of fear begins with recognizing its patterns. Fear has a way of repeating itself in different circumstances, almost like it knows where your weaknesses are. If you fear speaking up in meetings, you'll likely also fear networking or putting your ideas out publicly. If you fear failing in business, you may also hesitate in personal relationships, afraid of being vulnerable or rejected. Fear is rarely about the actual moment. It's about the stories you've told yourself about what might happen. Most of the time, fear is nothing more than a mental rehearsal of failure. You've already lived through it in your imagination. And so you hesitate before you even start. That's the cycle. Fear enters, you freeze, you retreat, and then you never build the confidence to move forward. The way to break that cycle is to confront it with action. Action is the antidote to fear. Every time you step forward, even shaken, even uncertain, you start to weaken. Fears hold over you. Think about when you learned how to ride a bike. The fear of falling felt massive. But the moment you actually got on the bike and started pedaling, that fear lost power. You might have fallen a few times, but with each attempt, you grew stronger, more skilled, and more confident. Eventually, riding a bike became second nature. The same principle applies to anything else in life. Fear only has power when you let it stop you from acting. Once you take action, fear begins to shrink. Another part of breaking fear's cycle is shifting the way you interpret discomfort. Most people associate discomfort with danger. The heart races, palms sweat, stomach tightens, and the mind instantly says, stop, this isn't safe. But in reality, those sensations don't mean danger. They mean growth. Your body is simply signaling that you are entering new territory, pushing beyond what's familiar. Instead of seeing those feelings as reasons to back away, start interpreting them as confirmation that you're on the right track. Every successful person you admire has felt fear, but they've learned to use it as fuel instead of a barrier. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to stop asking, what if it goes wrong? And start asking, what if it goes right? Fear convinces you to focus on the worst case scenario, but courage focuses on the best case outcome. Fear says, what if you fail? Courage says, what if you succeed? Fear says, what if people laugh? Courage says, what if people are inspired? When you change the question, you change the energy you bring into the situation. And often the things we fear most rarely come to pass, while the opportunities we miss out on because of fear stay with us far longer. Breaking the cycle of fear also means accepting that failure is not final. It's feedback. So many people let the possibility of failure stop them, as if failing once means they're permanently unworthy. But every failure carries within it the seeds of success. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Each failure wasn't a signal to quit, it was information about what didn't work. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team before becoming one of the greatest athletes of all time. Fear could have stopped them both, but instead they used failure as a stepping stone. The moment you stop seeing failure as something to be avoided, you free yourself from fear's chains. You realize failure is just part of the journey, not the end of it. It's also important to build courage in small, consistent ways. You don't break the cycle of fear overnight. It's like training a muscle, you strengthen it gradually. Start by doing small things that make you uncomfortable. Strike up a conversation with a stranger. Share your opinion in a group. Try a new skill you've been avoiding. Each of these little acts of courage builds momentum. Over time, they add up, and you begin to see yourself differently. Not as someone who runs from fear, but as someone who faces it head on. That identity shift is powerful. Once you start to believe that you are courageous, your actions will naturally follow that belief. Surrounding yourself with the right people also plays a massive role. Fear thrives in isolation but shrinks in community. When you're around people who are also chasing growth, who are willing to face their fear, their energy inspires you to do the same. You realize you're not alone in feeling fear, and that makes it easier to take bold steps. Conversely, if you're surrounded by people who let fear dictate their lives, you'll find yourself pulled back into that same cycle of retreating comfort. The people around you matter because fear is contagious, but so is courage. And finally, breaking the cycle of fear requires faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, and sometimes faith in something bigger than you. Fear tells you to control everything, but courage allows you to step into the unknown with trust. You don't need to see the entire path to take the next step. You just need to believe that each step forward will lead you closer to where you're meant to be. That faith is what allows you to keep moving even when the outcome is uncertain. So to break the cycle of fear, you must act despite it. Reframe discomfort as growth. Change the story you tell yourself. Embrace failure as feedback. Take small, courageous steps daily. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and move forward in faith. The more you practice these things, the less fear will control you. You'll still feel it. Fear never disappears completely, but it won't dictate your decisions anymore. Instead, you'll use it as a signal that you're stretching, expanding, and stepping into the life you're truly capable of living. The cycle of fear may feel unbreakable at first, but the moment you choose courage over comfort, you begin writing a new cycle. A cycle of resilience, progress, and ultimately greatness. When you think about the phrase that get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's easy to interpret it as just another motivational slogan. But the reality is that it is a principle that can shape your entire life. The 8th keynote in this message is about building resilience. And this is where everything comes together. Resilience is not just the ability to bounce back after failure, but the strength to stay in the fire long enough to see the breakthrough. It's about training your mind, your spirit, and even your body to endure what others run away from. This is where champions are made, because life will never stop throwing challenges, pain, and unexpected setbacks your way. The people who rise to the top are not those who avoid discomfort, but those who accept it, embrace it, and transform it into fuel. Think about the people you admire most. Every great leader, every innovator, every athlete, every entrepreneur, and every change maker had to endure countless moments of pain, rejection, and frustration before they reached success. Their story isn't about comfort. It's about the nights they stayed awake when everyone else was asleep, the mornings they woke up when everyone else hit snooze, the risks they took when others chose the easy path. That is resilience. It's saying, I may be hurting, I may be exhausted, I may be afraid, but I will not quit. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is training for resilience. It's telling your mind that struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. Resilience is built like a muscle. You don't develop it by reading about it or hearing about it or hearing about it. You develop it by facing resistance, by lifting the weight of your struggles repeatedly until you grow stronger. When you go to the gym, it's not the easy repetitions that grow your muscles. It's when the weight starts to burn, when your body starts screaming at you to stop, but you keep going anyway. That last rep, the one that feels impossible, is the one that changes you. Life is exactly the same way. It's exactly the same way. Resilience is built in those last reps of life. The moments where you feel like you can't push any further, but you choose to keep pushing. The problem is most people quit too soon. They step into discomfort and immediately want to step out of it. They begin a business, face rejection, and decide it's not for them. They enter a relationship, experience conflict, and instead of working through it, they run. They start a new habit, encounter difficulty, and give up after a few days. What they don't realize is that the discomfort they're running from is the very soil in which resilience is grown. You don't become tough by avoiding pain. You become tough by enduring it and learning from it. You don't build patience by living in a world that always goes your way. You build patience when nothing goes your way, but you refuse to lose your cool. Resilience also requires reframing discomfort. If you look at every struggle as a curse, then of course you'll hate it. But if you see every struggle as a lesson, a stepping stone, a gift in disguise, suddenly the discomfort becomes part of your growth. Every failure has a message. Every rejection is redirection. Every delay is an opportunity to develop deeper patience. Every obstacle is a test to prove how badly you want it. The resilient person doesn't ask, oh, why me? They ask, well, what can I learn from this? How is this shaping me? That simple shift in perspective turns pain into power. Resilience isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. When you go through hardship and come out the other side, you don't come out the same person. You come out stronger, wiser, tougher. The uncomfortable seasons of life don't just test you, they shape you. Think about it. The version of you today is a product of every storm you've already survived. The disappointments that didn't kill you, the heartbreaks that didn't destroy you, the losses that didn't end you, all of those experiences built the character you have now. And if you're still standing, it means you've already been resilient, whether you realized it or not. Now imagine what happens when you stop running from discomfort and start embracing it on purpose. Imagine how much stronger you can become. Resilience also thrives on consistency. You can't just face discomfort once and expect to be transformed. It's about training daily. It's about committing to disciplines that push you out of your comfort zone over and over again until discomfort feels normal. Wake up earlier than your body wants. Work harder when your mind wants to quit. Have the difficult conversations you'd rather avoid. Face the fears you keep postponing. Each small act of discomfort becomes another brick in the wall of resilience. Over time, that wall becomes unbreakable. But let me also be clear. Resilience isn't about being reckless or pretending pain doesn't hurt. It's about facing reality and still choosing to move forward. It's about understanding that yes, life is going to be tough. And yes, there will be times when you don't feel like you have the strength. But resilience whispers to you, on one more step, one more push, one more try, and that extra effort, doors open that would have remained closed had you quit. The beauty of resilience is that it compounds. The more you endure, the more you realize how much you can handle. Things that used to terrify you now seem manageable. Challenges that once felt like mountains now look like molehills. Every time you survive the storm, your confidence grows. You start believing in your ability to adapt, to adjust, to fight back. That belief becomes your greatest weapon, because once you know you can endure discomfort, you become unstoppable. Resilience is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Dreamers love the idea of success, but crumble at the first sign of difficulty. Achievers understand that the road to greatness is paved with obstacles, and they're willing to walk it anyway. Every time you refuse to let discomfort dictate your choices, you're building a resilient spirit. Every time you choose growth over ease, you're proving to yourself that you have what it takes. So let this keynote settle deep in your spirit. Resilience is the ultimate expression of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's what keeps you moving when others stop. It's what allows you to bend but not break, to struggle but not surrender. It's what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. If you want to live a life of impact, if you want to create something bigger than yourself, if you want to leave a legacy, resilience is non-negotiable. That's just average as non-negotiable. You can't fake it, you can't buy it, and you can't borrow it. You have to build it day by day, decision by decision, discomfort by discomfort. And when you do, you'll discover that the uncomfortable places you once feared are the very places where your greatness was waiting all along. Every great speech must leave people with something they can hold on to, something that echoes long after the words are spoken. The journey we've walked through together, learning how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, has been about transformation, about rising above our fears, our doubts, and our excuses. But now, as we come to the close, it's not enough to simply hear these words. It's not enough to nod your head in agreement or feel a spark of motivation for a few moments. The true test begins when you walk out of here and face your everyday life. That's where the real work lies. That's where you find out if you're willing to make discomfort your ally and growth your mission. The reality is, life doesn't stop throwing challenges at you just because you decide to change. In fact, the moment you commit to being better, the world seems to test you even harder. It's like life is asking, are you serious? Do you really want this? Are you willing to pay the price? And in those moments, you'll feel uncomfortable. You'll feel uncertain. You'll feel like maybe you made a mistake by stepping out of your comfort zone. But if you can remember one thing, if you can carry one lesson from everything we've discussed, it's this. Discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is the sign that you are alive, that you are pushing, that you are stretching beyond who you were yesterday. Think about the greatest people you know, the names etched in history, the legends we admire. None of them achieved greatness by staying comfortable. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't fight for justice from a safe, cozy space. He stepped into danger, into threats, into jail cells, because he knew the cause was bigger than his comfort. Athletes like Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, what separated them from the rest was not just talent, but their relentless willingness to be uncomfortable. Early mornings, grueling practices, physical pain, mental exhaustion, they embraced it because they knew that's where greatness was born. Entrepreneurs who built the companies we all admire. They faced sleepless nights, failures, ridicule, rejection, and setbacks. But they stayed the course. They didn't retreat to the safety of average. They leaned into discomfort until it transformed into their new normal. And you sitting here today have that same potential. Don't you ever forget that. You may not feel like it. You may look at your past and see mistakes, failures, or missed opportunities. But those things don't define you. What defines you is what you choose to do right now in this very moment. Will you stay in the safe, predictable bubble of what you've always known? Or will you step out, risk the discomfort, and chase the life you know deep down belongs to you? Here's the truth. Comfort zones don't keep you safe. They keep you small. They lull you into thinking you're okay, but really they're robbing you of growth. They're stealing your dreams in exchange for temporary ease. They're the silent enemy of potential. And the only way to defeat that enemy is to intentionally choose discomfort, to actively seek situations that stretch you, that scare you, that force you to evolve. It doesn't mean being reckless, but it does mean refusing to settle. It means saying yes to the opportunity that intimidates you, signing up for the challenge you're not sure you can handle, having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, and facing the failure that used to paralyze you. When you start living this way, something incredible happens. Discomfort becomes familiar. The things that once terrified you become manageable. You start realizing that fear shrinks in the face of action. You discover strength you didn't know you had. And then the very situations you used to avoid become the ones that empower you. That's when you understand the true power of embracing discomfort. It's not just about pushing through tough times. It's about rewriting who you are. But let me be clear, it's not going to happen overnight. This is a daily choice, a lifestyle. Every morning you wake up, you decide, am I going to live safe or am I going to live brave? Am I going to settle or am I going to stretch? Some days you'll win that battle and some days you'll lose. But as long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep choosing growth more times than not, you'll start to see change. Slowly, steadily, you'll look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. You'll realize you built resilience, grit, courage, and confidence. And that's when you'll thank yourself for not backing down when it got hard. So as I close, I want you to remember this. Life isn't about avoiding pain, avoiding fear, or avoiding discomfort. It's about using them as stepping stones. Every uncomfortable moment you endure is shaping you into someone stronger. Every failure is preparing you for a comeback. Every rejection is redirecting you towards something greater. Every fear you face is unlocking a new level of courage. The question is, will you embrace it? Will you take what we've talked about and make it real in your life? Because if you do, I promise you, your story will change. Your relationships will deepen, your career will elevate, your dreams will start to take shape. You'll stop just surviving and start thriving. You'll stop wondering a what if and start living a what is. You'll become someone who doesn't just dream about success, but lives it, breathes it, embodies it. And when the people around you see that change, they'll be inspired. They'll see your courage and it will give them permission to step into their own. That's how we create a ripple effect. That's how we change communities, change families, and ultimately change the world by choosing to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So my final challenge to you is this. Don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect time because it will never come. Don't wait for fear to disappear because it never fully does. Don't wait for someone else to push you because this is your life. Start today. Take the first uncomfortable step. Make the call. Take the risk. Do the work. And when it feels hard, and it will remind yourself that this is exactly where transformation begins. You are capable of more than you've ever imagined. You were not born to be average. You were born to be extraordinary. But extraordinary lives are never built in comfort. They are built in the fire of challenge, in the storm of fear, in the grind of discipline, in the embrace of discomfort. So go live extraordinary life. Step boldly into the unknown. Chase a dream that scares you. And when it gets uncomfortable, smile. Because that's the moment you'll know you're exactly where you're supposed to be.